Oh, wait. Welcome to another episode of the Ministry of Truth. I am your number one host on this show because, well, I'd like to kill most of the shitty ones. Allegedly, YouTube, I haven't killed any of the hosts for this show yet. But I got, you never know. You never know. What I got for you lined up today is some news segments. One from Canada. This one from Canada makes no fucking sense to me. And whoever did it and whoever the parents were, if they did it, I hope you get the piano wire treatment. But before we get into anything, what are we gonna have today? Oh shit! I already said what we're talking about today. Again, shitty people who shouldn't have kids or be around kids, or in general who shouldn't be breathing. But there's really not much I can do about that except for hopes and dreams. Is what Kamala Harris offered us.
We will not comply with the
A little bit. Want to back a little bit with this one.
No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
That dude's beard is real, by the way.
Won't be televised, government been telling lies. If you're not with us, you better step aside. Witnessing a genocide, everything is centralized. The food that we consuming, they spraying it out with pesticides. Easily identify the sheep and the snake, the real and the fake, giving us a reason to pray. I'ma make my own choices, a voice for the voiceless. They trying to destroy us, avoiding the poison. It's all pointless if you don't have a purpose. If you read the verses, you'll know who we versing. Government can tell you what your worth is, look deeper than the surface. They don't even want you researching or asking questions. We all being tested. Shut your mouth and comply, that's the message. Want you depressed on prescriptions that mess with your head, got you stressing, suppressing expression.
Now, if you pay attention, I don't know if you guys pay attention to the words, because that's what I do. Everything you just said was pretty much what RFK wants to get rid of. Oh, shit.
Comply with the institutions, sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. We will not comply with the
I don't know if you can do the Trump. You can. Let's slow it down. Alright, one of those bad back pain days.
Keep the money, I would rather have my soul. They want power and control, that's their number one goal. All my friends turn to foes, look how easily they fold. Even Nazis say they were doing what they told. Walking down this road all alone in the cold, but my soul never sold. I'm exposing the clones. God has chosen this role. All of those who oppose want me hopeless and broke, like I'm Noah on boats. I'm just trying to tell them all about the flood. I can feel it in my bones, I can feel it in my blood. Man, I came up out the mud, only God is my judge.
For those of you who don't know, that's been following me for a while. Actually, a long while. This used to be my opening theme song about 3 years ago.
I don't listen to these politicians, they the real thugs. Won't comply with the lies, they disguise it as science. They want you compliant, the media's biased. These corporate giants are capitalizing on us by dividing, but I'll keep on fighting. We will not comply with the institutions, sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
Woo! All right. Now that that's over with, let's get to the polls. Just kidding. This is not like fucking election time. Good morning, ACOPS, Southwest Gilf. Totally forgot to turn the chat on over here. Javi, Melinda. Melinda, it's been a while. So what do we got going on today? Like I said, I got some stories. Not really stories. Some videos.
Heartbreaking.
This first one is a real story. God damn it. How do I say this? This one happened in Toronto area 2 days ago. And again, these people that do this shit really do deserve a special place in hell. And if hell is real and I could go there, I'd be like, listen, bro, I know you're in charge of this fucking place, but every single one of those people, can I be in charge of them? Can I be in charge of the punishment that gets doled out to them? Dole, get it? Come on, bud. Come on. You want to fight me for it? No? All right. I get what I want. That's what I fucking thought. See? Talk to the devil the way he doesn't think he needs to be talked to. All you pedophiles, I'll see you in hell. Oh, and baby murderers. Sorry,
Discovery today by Toronto police as they found an infant in North York with critical injuries. The 4-month-old later died in hospital. Let's go live now to Global Sean O'Shea tonight with the latest. What more do we know, Sean?
Anthony, officially police are saying very little here except that they are confirming that in fact a child has died and that they are deeming the death to be suspicious. Here's what I can tell you from where we are at Roselawn and Marley. It happened in this building just behind me. Circumstances from this morning. I'm told Toronto Fire and Police and ambulance responded with full force after a 911 call came in around 11:24 after an infant was reported missing. That infant was eventually located and was transported to a hospital where the child was pronounced dead. I spoke to a number of residents in this building, this Toronto community housing.
No. Listening to the story initially, I was pissed off. But when it gets to the story to where I think that they alluded to what happened, then I get fucking irate.
Building. Many have lived here
Inside my
several
head.
years. Police are guarding a unit on the 8th floor, as you can see there. I've been told that a couple living with a child a few months old had been arguing and that earlier today the male had been banging on the door of the management office. Another resident describing an argument involving the baby's mother. Police have not confirmed any of the circumstances around how this baby died, but we know the investigation has been focused on the trash chutes. This one is on a lower floor and all the chute doors have now been locked while the investigation is underway. Here's what one
4-month-old discarded like it was trash. Discarded like it was fucking trash. They were trash. Even if you're having a fucking argument, is that a reason to? Now we could say maybe it wasn't the husband, the guy. Maybe it was postpartum depression. Don't know. But I was talking to a Canadian. This will probably get 6 months at the most. And then the rest will be supervised probation.
One resident inside the building told me when she heard about the child's death.
I am hurt. They should put that baby in the lobby. Let somebody
And they
take
told
the
me that
baby.
this was affordable housing. Like, so ghettos.
It's not nice. What that innocent baby.
What up, Telly?
People have their
How you doing, brother?
problems. We don't know what happened.
Now, one of Toronto's deputy mayors, Mike Cole, was just here on scene a few minutes ago. He confirmed that the baby was transported and attempts were made to resuscitate the baby at Humber River Hospital. Those efforts, of course, were unsuccessful. We're told that while police homicide is not directly involved, that they are monitoring this investigation.
Well, it wasn't
that is ongoing in
suicide.
the building just behind me. Back to you, Anthony.
Heartbreaking story and so many.
Homicide might be involved. Yeah. Last time I saw a 4-month-old baby open up a fucking garbage chute, climb in it, shut it, and then just slide down. Yeah. 4 months do that shit all the time.
After Johnny Somali and his two buddies were taken down by...
So those of you know that have been following Johnny Somali before we get into some more of the worst of the worst, at least what I thought, especially with the parolee. The parolee needs to be kicked in the face, and I'm glad the parole board was like, get the fuck out of here, loser. But anyway, let's follow our favorite non-Somalian Somali, as the reports are that he may be getting maybe 16 years in prison. Because he's fucking smart. And he thinks he can go to any other country and act the way he does. Well, some countries don't play. Like when we used to get fights in South Korea, because we were the army and shit, those fucking Korean police, they don't play. I tell you. Just like the Polizei. The Polizei have these batons that will fucking hit you like 300 times. It's not literally, but it feels like it's hitting you 300 times when they hit you once. But anyway, I don't get in trouble. What's up, Smashly? Why are we yelling?
Taken down by one Korean dude, a literal line of other Koreans formed, asking to fight him next.
Check your Instagram DM. Let's fight me. I will kill you.
If you're in a 20-mile radius to where I live, be prepared to see me.
Until a Korean Navy SEAL went out and actually found him in his hotel.
Hey. 수말리. 어디가? 어디가?
The Korean military used to do us all the time.
And now YouTuber Rotten Mango decided to cover the incident. But to explain the significance of this is on YouTube, she has nearly 4 million subscribers, with 1.8 million views on this video in the first week. And even though I've seen similar numbers of podcasts, crime podcasts of views covering Johnny's descent into internet obscurity, we all kind of sit under the same umbrella online, sharing much of the same audience and repeated viewer. But Stephanie Sue in the Rotten Mango podcast introduces Johnny's crimes against Korea to millions of other more offline people, which is only going to apply further pressure to the Korean government to do something very uncharacteristic and absolutely throw the book at an American, as something like 16 years in prison is on the table. And although it seems silly that a podcast documentary can actually impact the outcome of a court case, just remember how R. Kelly's crimes were basically an open secret for several decades until Lifetime made a documentary about him, reminding the public to demand justice. As this even has NBC News reporting on Johnny Somali or Ramzi Khalid Ismail, with Dexerto stating he's facing up to 7 years in jail for sharing AI-generated content, putting his previous actions under a microscope, which now may actually lead to terror charges. I hope those $3 super chats were worth it, as he's been basically begging for international notoriety, and now he's put both himself and South Korea's justice system in the spotlight. So if they want to avoid advertising themselves as spineless jellyfish to the international community, further inviting more unemployed behaviors to plague their streets, they're gonna need to lock up Johnny for a very long time, as those videos might actually be his final goodbye to the internet. That's why it's great we have the sponsor for today's video, Deal now, as it's going on around me. But it's their new active noise cancellation mode that's been coming in clutch recently, as I got a lot going on around the house, but now I can still hear him began when he was literally being hunted during his live streams. So he switched to live streaming inside what appeared to be an empty room, until internet sleuths caught a brief glimpse of a blurry pizza box that locals were quickly able to identify. And as he tried to antagonize the Koreans even further, they caught a reflection of the room off his cell phone, identifying a particular exit sign and an internet cafe monitor, as the chat filled with messages stating they knew where he was staying. And shortly after that, that Korean Navy SEAL found him in the street. But luckily for Johnny, the local authorities were nearby to rescue him.
My hat. 자, 이쪽으로 오세요.
Should drink some water there, buddy.
Arresting the Korean UDT SEAL that showed absolutely no remorse.
Well, UDT would imply they were a SEAL, so...
And to my understanding, that guy had his bail, luxury hotel, and upcoming legal fees crowdfunded, as he's basically seen as both a local and international hero, just as I predicted would happen years ago. So being afraid to live stream anything but audio, he's resorted to essentially hosting conference calls on X, as these could barely gain a couple hundred listeners, which is a huge drop off from his thousands of video views and the millions of people who would tune in to see him find out, which again was another one of my predictions, that he would slowly slip into internet obscurity, as he provides nothing of value other than internet fame and fortune for whoever can find him in the streets, or for insanely famous podcasters
maybe I should go
make
harass
thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars off.
Then I can get super
as I imagine
chats,
she'll get at least 3 million views.
There will never be a super chat over $4.
Exactly why he's despised by everybody else.
Sounds legit, right?
Stripping off his shirt. He's trying to dance all up on this female figure rubbing baby oil onto her, and the Koreans are screaming at him in Korean.
And to make it worse,
Well, Hangul,
that
but-
statue is supposed to be of a kid, which may make his dance a much more serious crime. So at least to Johnny Somali, worst case is he streams that garbage to a couple thousand people on the shadiest streaming site online and nobody notices. And best case, I guess, is he's featured on the #2 crime podcast in the world. Then the mainstream news media picks it up, and now you're going viral for making a video doing very suggestive things to a statue of a kid that was specifically made to commemorate how foreigners committed crimes against kids. So he
Did the
thought he
same
was being
thing to
funny
the
to idiots online when he was really reopening
Filipinos
one of the
in World
most
War II.
sensitive issues in South Korean history and now making it about him. And speaking of sensitive political issues, after he was streaming alongside some girl, recording himself vandalizing another guy's home, Johnny later displayed to his live stream AI-generated videos of him hooking up with a female streamer, which violates a brand new bill specifically made to charge people with those videos up to 7 years in jail. So some
Holy
Korean
shit.
politician is about to boost their entire career off this incident.
He's about to be an
As there was
example.
never a worse time to be this ignorant to local laws. And I don't think Johnny's intentionally speedrunning going to prison, but if he was, I don't think he would do anything different. As Dexerto previously reported, he was facing 10 years in jail, which started from his first charge of causing a commotion in a convenience store that in comparison was one of his more milder offenses that he recorded himself committing.
Stupid. You. You Chinese.
But just like in Japan, he'd been bothering their citizens for a while, until the authorities arrested him over something simple as trespassing into a construction site. Now the Japanese made the mistake of letting him off easy, believing his lies and just deporting him. And the citizens are
What's
already
up, Yeti?
seeing the effects of allowing foreigners to completely disregard your culture, which is why I think Korea has to absolutely throw the book at him. As not only did the entire world see some idiot twerk and pour
Korea's
baby
used to
oil
dealing
over
with
a
soldiers.
statue of a little girl, but also violate a brand new law specifically made in response to public outrage over deepfakes. This case is becoming so high profile that if they don't imprison him for at least half a decade, they're basically broadcasting not only to Koreans, but the entire world
And
that their
Korean-
laws actually don't mean anything.
Korean
and other
youth
streamers know
love
this,
protest.
as legal mindset is begging people to come forward.
For example, the people that he sexually harassed, you need to go file a complaint. Right now, the system looks at how many charges are there. If this guy gets 10, 20 charges against him, he's screwed.
As the convenience store wasn't the only place he bothered workers, he also bothered
He
other streamers.
did, I believe, 3 or 4 months. He did some time in Japanese prison.
He bothered random
why he went to
buskers.
Korea
He
after.
and his stupid Korean friend bothered random girls in the streets,
Hey, girl, you want me on stream? My first stream.
even following them into stores,
Why did she run back in the store? Bro? Well, I'm about to crash out. I'm about to crash out. This your friend right here?
and shouting at old ladies just begging for change.
Get lost. Get the on. Come on.
As much as I think Johnny and Johnny Jr. are losers, I think that Korean dude that follows them around for secondhand clout is the most pathetic person I've seen on the internet. So I feel no sympathy for him, as he may have legal issues of his own, and he's pretty much earned it. Hanging out with a guy
Wait,
that
he's got
literally
weapons
despises
charges.
his entire existence.
I like to make content that makes people violent. But I hate Asians. I think all Asians need to be exterminated. Somebody please put this on the news tomorrow.
Which this too turns out to be a crime in Korea, punishable by up to 7 years in jail. On top of the time he went into their subway system, broadcasting that he has a device.
나에겐 폭탄이 있다. 나에겐 폭탄이 있다.
Which again violates local laws that could get him an additional 2 years in prison. So Dexerto said 10 years in prison. My math here adds up to 16, with some people even saying 29 years. But I guess the sentence length is irrelevant when Korea had an over 99% conviction rate. Now I understand long prison sentences isn't as common in Korea, but the justice system is more of a deterrence for future offenders than rehabilitating previous offenders. So this particular scenario has zero drawbacks when you can imprison someone for several years, then immediately deport him back to his home country. And although incarceration is incredibly expensive, it just might be worth the worldwide headlines of "Do not f with Korea." We got military-age men that'll beat you up everywhere. We got high-speed internet to live stream your beating from every angle. Then we let you rot in a box over.
All right, so yesterday we did a video on one of these First Amendment auditors basically being a pedophile. We have another First Amendment auditor. This guy, they like to record children. No, don't get me wrong. Maybe it's just the way it sounds bad, but he's doing it because it's his First Amendment. It's a First Amendment right because it's in a public place, and when you're in public, you have no expectation of privacy, which is true. Why are you on the kids' floor of a library though, when you have no kids? And why are you on the kids' floor when you have no kids and you're recording? It's not illegal, but it makes you wonder.
Luck.
Oh, so how area like?
Tyrant Terminator is at a kid's library recording.
I believe
kids,
this is
and
New
he's
York.
advocating for other men to go and record and hang out inside the kids section. Enjoy the video.
I can barely hear you.
I said, can I help you with something?
Oh, not at the moment, man. Maybe in a few moments.
Dude, it's windy as fuck outside.
The reason I'm asking, do you have kids in here?
In here?
In here.
Oh, no.
Because adults don't usually come in. They have kids if they come in. The adult department is upstairs.
Oh, so we were not permitted in here?
Right, if you don't have
Really?
kids, yeah.
Wow. When did they start that?
Yeah, like if you were getting games or something for a kid or something, but normally just to be in here, yeah, you'd have, because there's nothing in here but kid stuff. So.
Wow. I mean, but it's still like, just for someone to just come around and look around, you know, why would they restrict the area? Like,
only because it's...
Are you sure? I'm pretty... You might want to holler at is it a manager or something available? Just so we can make sure. Yeah, appreciate it.
Like, I don't understand it.
Then you're in here, but if you don't...
I can understand, but I mean, it's the whole library is accessible to the public. So,
your kids can't even be safe at a public library.
It's like the children's area. I mean, you can tell that it is, but it's still part of the public
But again,
library.
it's well within his First Amendment right.
They get restricted. She's like totally for sure of it. She was talking kind of soft. Oh, I guess we are in the library where you're supposed to talk soft, right? You know. But she went in that room right there. I think she went in that room. I think I seen her go in that room right there. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. Let me see y'all. Stay tuned. You like the manager? Yeah, just because this young lady was telling me that, like, adults are not permitted in this area unless they had kids. I was just trying to confirm that.
Well, it's not that adults aren't permitted in this area. It's we ask if adults need help when you're in this area without kids. We try to make sure that adults have a reason to be in the children's department.
They're trained well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but do they need a reason? That's the main...
Yes, idiots, you need a reason. Unless if you're checking out a book for your kid, then there's absolutely no reason why a grown-ass man would be in the kids section at a library. And not only are you there, you're also recording. It makes no sense.
Well, why else are you in the library?
Well, anybody could. The library offer numerous of different things. Sure. So I was just trying to basically, like I said, confirm that, you know, if you don't have kids, are you not permitted in this area? That's why I asked to speak to you.
Yeah, we never said that. No.
Well, she said that.
We are asked. We ask why adults would be in here without kids, and like they needed help find materials or something. If you need a place to sit, we prefer that you go into the adult section.
Also, it's more of a preference or a suggestion or...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just something, I thought it was almost something written in stone.
Well, I mean, we're just like
Come on, dude.
to protect kids.
Well, how would they be unprotected?
We're open to the public. Anybody.
What the fuck did he say?
Exactly.
Don't be stupid, internet. Maybe the wind is fucking with everything.
The adult section.
Also, it's more of a preference or a suggestion or...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just something, I thought it was almost something written in stone.
Well, I mean, we're just like we like to protect kids.
Well, how would they be unprotected?
We're open to the public. Anybody can come in here.
Exactly.
And so that's why we.
I understand, and that was my point in terms of...
I still think, like I heard you say, he doesn't
anybody can come
want
in. So that's why I knew it couldn't be restricted, because it's accessible for the public, right?
Right, as long as you follow our guidelines. Yeah.
What guidelines would there be?
We have a code of conduct. I can.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I know every library does, but the code of conduct has absolutely nothing to do with in terms of parents and kids area and restrictions, right? Am I correct?
I don't think it says it on there. I don't have it memorized, but I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, maybe the young lady was misinformed. I just wanted to confirm with you. You're the highest authority here.
I am the manager of this department.
Oh, the department.
The director is downstairs. If you would like to speak with her.
No, you kind of confirmed it that we should be good
Talk
to go.
to the director, bro.
So, I don't see what's the problem.
And I was asking, did you need any help with anything?
Yeah, no. Yeah, when you asked me did I need any help, I was like, I didn't need any, and then you started telling me.
Then I asked, like, do you have children?
That's correct.
Here?
Yeah.
And I said no. And you was like, because we usually want, people without kids not to be in this area.
Go to the adult section upstairs,
Yeah, but anybody should be able to access the entire public library, right? Even
Recording, you fucking.
if it's a kids area, just like, for instance, like the adult area upstairs, right? How would it sound if they say no kids up there? You know what I mean? That wouldn't sound right?
And that shows the mindset of these frauditors. How could you compare the two things?
Yeah.
One is kids that make noise in the adult section. The second is a creepy man in the kids section trying to, I don't know, why else would you want to be in the kids section unless if you're trying to diddle or record children?
What up, bad guy?
I'm coming around.
Yeah, but that's a little different.
Why is it different?
Either way, you have your answer.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
Oh no, I was just trying to confirm. I just didn't want to violate any type of laws if there was some in place.
You knew going to the
Obviously,
kids
you
section would
confirmed
get the
that
reaction he wanted so he can get paid.
We don't really have a library law.
Well, that's policy then. There you go. I would have said that. So what's your name, man?
Now remember,
Is there anything else?
a lot of these guys will say, oh, policy's not law. But when the police show up, your policy is to give me your name and badge number.
I can help you with?
Yes,
Policy's not
I'm
law.
in charge of the youth services department. My name is Jen.
Okay. Well, you seem everything. Is everything okay, Jen? Seemed like you was kind of getting, for lack of a better word.
You're sitting there recording me.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Giving an answer to your question of why we don't have adults usually in the children's department. So
Right, but what's wrong with that?
your approach is confrontational to start.
Now he's
so.
manufacturing confrontation.
And she engaged me. She engaged
Is
me.
there anything else I can answer for you?
Not at the moment. You I thought everything was okay, but you turned out to be unprofessional, Jen.
See?
So you should get back to work.
Okay.
That's
Manufactured
crazy,
confrontations.
That's crazy.
Clicks and views.
You can just tell.
That's why I don't go to their channels.
These public servants, man, their egos be through the roof, man.
They didn't swear an oath, by the way, buddy.
Well,
Not a
like
like.
TTA family. My thing is, no matter what type
Dude,
of
what the
area
fuck are you
you're
doing?
in, the public library is accessible to the public in its entirety. Just like the point I tried to bring up, just like saying that you can't bring any kids upstairs to the adult section.
You actually
And she said,
can because they're
how
with
is
you,
it
you
different?
stupid fuck.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Are you, excuse me, one of you young ladies a director?
Yes, I
Oh, you are.
Oh, now he wants to speak to director.
I'm just going to speculate, but I just had a dialogue with Jen about being in this area, and at first, the dialogue between me and her was going fairly good, but at the end, she turned kind of unprofessional, for lack of a better word. For something, for a mix-up that the other young lady told me that people wasn't permitted in that area unless you had kids. And I know that not to be true.
No, that's not a law. But generally, the children's area, we don't encourage people without children to be hanging out there, because it makes
just
the
weird.
parents a little uneasy to see other adults without children in their area where their kids are. So if there is an unattended adult, I guess we could call them, without kids, we'll go talk to them and ask them if they need any help, or if they were looking for something, and just generally let them know this is a designated children's area, and that there are other areas of the library if you just wanted a quiet place or you wanted to do some research.
I just wanted to
It's not that
record
you're
kids.
not allowed in there. It's just encouraged that if you have children, this is your area. If you don't have children, it's preferable that you go to some other adult areas.
Exactly, because if a grown man is sitting there
Again, it's
or
not
hanging
illegal.
out in the children's area,
It's not
you
illegal.
have to question why he's there. And whatever the answer is, it's not going to be good, because it makes no sense that an adult is there hanging out in the kids' area. It's obviously
Common
very,
sense.
very creepy.
I can understand that point, but when I had first came across the first young lady, she told me as if like it was something written in stone, as if you guys had a policy. And I was like, well, if it's a policy, then I need to speak to someone of a higher authority just to confirm. And when Jen came out, she confirmed that you guys didn't have a policy.
No,
or
that's-
maybe
that's
it's an
not-
implied policy.
It
It could be
kind of,
okay,
yeah.
implied.
I'm sorry that you didn't have a good experience.
Not too bad. I'm not done, so I'm just going to walk around and get more footage of the library. But it's just, at the beginning, like I said, everything was okay. But near the end, she kind of seemed,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry it was off-putting.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Lady J?
Welcome
Long time.
to Explore, and any of the desk staff, if you have any questions, just go on up to them, and they'll be helpful.
It'll be all good. And what's your name, man?
My name is Carol.
So you see that was very professional of you. When I asked Jen that, she was kind of, she didn't want to give it, but she ended up doing it. But it's all good. I appreciate it. Appreciate the dialogue. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
For sure. So that was the director right there. So I guess Jen went over and found her director and
Well, that is her boss.
told on us. So I just wanted to follow up with her, man. So yeah. Now if I were
Because it's one of the easiest places where they can pull off the I'm just recording public space.
Was your police? Was it the police?
I were a betting man.
Hello. I don't
Hey, what's up?
Obviously, so they called you guys on it.
What's up?
Called you guys for me. Just had a back and forth with a couple of supervisors about a situation.
Why are you recording?
Just because we can.
Okay. Do you have an ID on you?
No, I don't have ID. I don't just provide ID. Why would you need ID?
Because I made contact with you. I need to
You made
verify
contact
you.
with her too. You didn't ask
She
her.
works here, so.
Well, it doesn't matter. You made contact. I don't provide ID minus a crime. So she came right out the gate with ID. Why would she need ID? I haven't committed a crime, so
Were you in the children's area recording children?
I was in the children's area recording.
Okay. Well, people don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah,
And you're unwanted here. So,
absolutely not.
do you guys want him here?
You can't solicit.
a decision of the director.
The director.
Yeah, maybe you want to speak to the director. She's right
I'll
there.
speak with the director, but if the director wants you gone, then you have to leave.
Why would I need to leave though?
Because they're asking you to leave, and they're going to criminally trespass you from this location. So if you
No,
come
ma'am.
back,
They can't criminally trespass me minus a crime. I didn't do anything. You
Well, once you've been asked to leave, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not their vicinity. It's the people's vicinity.
Because I got a warning.
What's your name?
And the next time I did it, it would be a criminal trespass.
if the director doesn't want you here and they ask you to leave, why would you refuse to leave?
Because it's public property. Why would I have to leave? No one else has to leave.
But what is your purpose? Like, why are you here?
He's there to record kids and to advocate for other diddlers to go to the library and record children in the kids section. Because advocating for adults to record and hang out in the kids section is only going to help out diddlers. No normal adult wants to hang out in the kids section.
It doesn't matter. This is public
I'm
property.
just asking you though.
I mean, I don't
Like,
need
did
it.
you come here to read a book?
No, I just came
So
here
you
to
just came in
exercise
here to
rights.
record?
That's correct. What's wrong with that?
Let's go up, community come over.
Well, you're raising it up as one.
But you just came in here to cause problems because now you just want to stand here and record and give us problems and the staff problems. For what?
Obviously, they gave me a problem by telling me I couldn't be somewhere I could be. That's a problem for me.
Okay.
Exactly.
She just spoke to
What's up, Junie?
Exactly.
She was okay with him being here. And she just spoke to him and I witnessed that. She said that it was his first
So
amendment.
who called us?
I don't know, because this is my area. So
Okay.
I didn't call. She's the head of youth. She didn't call. I do not know who called him.
That's crazy,
But the
man.
director did already speak with him just to kind of diffuse it. And
That's what I was trying to tell
Okay, but
her.
I'm asking you your reasoning for just recording. Some people don't like to be recorded.
But is it against the law, officer? You swore an oath to the Constitution. That's the only thing you should be. That's the only thing you should be concerned with. Not
So I'm
anybody
asking
being
you a
comfortable.
question. I don't know why you're uncomfortable answering the question.
What's the question?
I said, why are you in here recording?
And why do
What
I
was
need-
your purpose of being here?
Do I need a reason to exercise a right?
Your right to record?
That's correct.
I'm not telling you to stop recording.
I know.
I'm asking you why you're doing it.
And I know I
me get her
understand your
number.
question about
So
why.
why are you doing it?
Because we can. There you go.
That's your reasoning?
That's right.
Would you feel comfortable with you doing a day-to-day task and someone coming and record you?
Absolutely, especially if I'm a public official like you. You don't have a problem with the camera being on you, right?
No.
Exactly.
Library employees
Why
aren't
would I-
public officials.
So
That's
we have
exactly
to
right.
record as well.
That's exactly right. What did they say on 911? Well, obviously they said
What
they
did
didn't want me
say
here.
in the call notes?
Yeah, obviously they don't want me here.
I don't know who called. They just felt uncomfortable with you in the kids area recording.
Yeah, that's
That was
crazy.
the only-
Probably a
That's
parent.
crazy. I mean, it's a public library, man. I mean,
No,
it doesn't
no.
make
See,
any
I
You
don't.
want to identify yourself?
No, I don't.
I have a big thing against frauditors because a lot of these frauditors, believe it or not, are felons. And some of them are felons with sex offender crimes and issues, as well as some of them have forgotten to register or not register. Register, yeah, when they move. And then they go around the country causing these commotions. All because, you know what? There's stupid people out there, like with any community, that literally donate shit tons of money to these motherfuckers. But yeah, I don't like this guy. There's a few of them I really don't like because they really just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
I shouldn't have to.
The staff seems to be okay. We'll probably get called here again because people are uncomfortable with it. But if you
Is that hair clip part of your uniform?
stand here and record, by all means, I guess you could.
Well, but see, now you switching it, officers. Now, so now that you feel that
But
the
I spoke with
personnel.
them and they're not making you leave.
Oh, okay. Well, they couldn't make me leave. No way. You couldn't either. So I mean,
Same way,
respectfully,
Batmom.
You couldn't or they couldn't either.
Same way.
Because it's
If they
public
don't
property.
want you here, then.
Yeah, but it's public property. It's not like something they own. It's not private property.
So what you would want?
Yeah, just making a point. And you didn't. What's your name and badge number, officer?
I don't have to give that.
You don't
I
want
don't
to
have to
identify?
ask questions.
Oh,
You
you're
can identify yourself.
you're a tyrant. She's a tyrant. I can tell y'all already know she's a straight up tyrant. She don't even want to identify.
Exactly.
Definitely breaking up policy, Oakland, Illinois policy for her to identify. And we definitely gonna
Illinois,
hike over
okay.
to their police department and file a complaint on that because
All right, Karen, go hike on to the police department and go complain. Frauditors never want to answer any questions, but they expect everybody else to answer all of their questions.
we'll go over here to the this is their police department right here, directly across the street. We're gonna file some complaints, man, because these officers was tyrants, man. You can tell, man. I hope
What?
the entire Oakland Police Department isn't that way. We definitely want to file a complaint on these two officers, though. So we're doing a follow-up
Well, there was
right
another
away.
one?
We ain't gonna leave. Y'all know how TTA get out. I'm doing them right away.
Where's the recording of the other
Y'all
one?
Stay tuned. How you doing, Sarge?
Good, how are you?
Man, pretty good. Just wanted to holler at you, man, briefly to let you know what had just occurred over across the street, obviously, at the public library. So I was over there, talked to a couple of different personnel, the director and things of that nature. They had a problem at first with us being in the kids area of the library. But once I spoke to the director, she was like, no, it's all
Good little
good.
story.
You're good to go. However, one of the other personnel there called you guys over there. When you guys came over there, I come encounter with two officers. Don't know their names. They wouldn't identify, only by number. I think that's pretty much like kind of definitely unprofessional.
No, it's our policy.
Oh, it's you guys' policy. So you guys don't have to identify.
That's my star.
I understand your star number, but so you're saying when you come encounter with a member of the public, you don't have to say your
Policy,
actual
not
name.
law, bro.
No.
Really? And that's in policy. So is it an implied policy or written?
Oh, now a policy
You can do whatever you want.
is required.
No, I'm just saying. Is it implied?
No, it's in our policy.
See what I mean?
Oh, okay. So it's written then. Oh, okay. And another thing I want to confirm is this young lady.
I used to study these motherfuckers just like their mannerisms and how they talk and their line of questioning and their script. And that's where I was like, hold a second. Then I fell in on this community and I was noticing like, holy shit, both the preds and the people questioning, it's a script. I mean, not granted, it's real life, but everything is almost like you can go from pred to person, pred to catcher, pred catcher, pred catcher. Even if they have a different style, the line of questioning is always the same. Like with Alex, I already knew what was coming, what was going to come out of his mouth next. I already knew because he runs down it. And this is the same way.
At the front said she didn't have a complaint form at that desk. You would have to get me one.
Well, I went from,
Can I have one then?
these First Amendment auditors are doing something great till wait a second. Why are you doing that? It's stupid.
Basically trying to have intimidation tactics and not identifying right now. So I definitely want to complain about that.
So you were saying you were intimidated?
Yeah, she was trying to. It didn't work, but she was trying to. Telling me if they want you out of here, we're kicking you out. And that's kind of a scare tactic.
Well, no, I mean, if you're in there filming children, which would make, I think, any parent uncomfortable when a total stranger is in the children's area of a library filming children.
Okay.
I mean, that's disorderly conduct.
That's disorderly conduct.
Right, that's disorderly conduct. You're making people feel unreasonably safe, and they could ask you to leave. They did not. Okay, they didn't ask you to leave.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
But that is a legal right of theirs, especially if you are acting in a way that would alarm or disturb a reasonable person. And as a parent, if I had a total stranger videotaping my children, that would alarm and disturb me.
Yes, that would actually alarm and disturb.
The goal is to get arrested.
I'm actually surprised
Look at Long
to see
Island
this
audit.
frauditor doing this. To me, this was more of a News Now Houston diddler type of thing, but it just kind of shows how these frauditors are. They say not to put them in the same basket, but why do they all act
That's
the
why I
same?
call them
Why do they
frauditors.
always want to record kids?
So let me ask you this: what if you had a total stranger not recording your children
Okay, but that's
in that area? Because that's the case.
But that's not why we were called over there. We were called over there.
Oh,
because
no,
we were
I've questioned
told
cops before,
you were
especially
in
when I knew
the
he was
children's
wrong.
area
Recording
children.
Oh, well, so if they said recording children, then that was a lie.
Okay, well, we don't know that, but that's the information my officer
And then
had when they went over there.
Even if that's the case, even if I was recording children, that's not illegal.
Well, I just explained to you how it could be. It could be disorderly conduct because you are acting in a manner that disturbs or alarms somebody. And again, if you're recording me, I'm not disturbed or alarmed. But a grown man recording somebody else's children, that is disturbing and alarming.
Well, even if the kids felt uncomfortable, that's what matters, right?
You're trying to convert it, but
No. I'm not trying to convert anything.
Because the Supreme Court says
the statute for disorderly conduct is a person acts in a manner that disturbs or alarms somebody. And if you, a grown man, are recording other people's children,
that's correct,
in an area of the library that is specifically designated for children. Okay. A reasonable person would find that disturbing and alarming. Okay.
So the Supreme Court has ruled that you can't convert a constitutionally protected activity into a crime. You can't say, even though you have the right to do it, we can still arrest you if they feel some type of way. That's not going to hold up.
Like the Second Amendment?
No, they have to. That's like the nature of a crime. You can go outside And you can scream at me from across the street telling me you're going to kick my ass. That's your free speech. But the minute you cross the street and stand in front of me and say you're going to kick my ass, that becomes assault because
That's
you
correct.
place me reasonably in fear of receiving a battery. I just converted free speech into a crime. So I think you're misinterpreting that rule.
Oh, absolutely not. No, don't get me wrong. You can do whatever you want to do. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, maybe I said it wrong. If you want to try to convert it into a crime, you can. But it's not going to hold up, is what I'm saying. So I can be arrested. I can be arrested. I can be arrested for everything right now. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be convicted. I just told you.
So you were intimidated by a 5'2", 100-pound female?
That's armed, right? She's armed.
Okay, but again, so were intimidated. You were intimidated by a 5'2", 100-pound female officer who never used profanity, who never raised her voice, who never put her hand on her gun.
They're in the police department right now, Yeti.
Yes, absolutely. He's a snowflake. He has no problem going and recording children, but once an adult confronts him, he's intimidated. I don't even know why he posted this video. This is a very bad look.
Oh, how could you say she's professional? Sorry, you wasn't there. She wasn't professional.
Oh, that's right. She already told him. He watched the body cam. I forgot about that part.
Telling me that she's going to, if they want you to leave, we're going to get you out of here.
She was professional. She was giving you your options, and she spoke in a calm, professional voice.
Absolutely.
Pretty good. I watched the video. So here's the deal.
Okay.
So just so we're clear, right? So on your camera and mine, you would like to file a complaint against the officer.
That's correct.
Who is 5'2", 100 pounds, never put her hand on her gun, talked to you in a professional.
I don't agree to that.
You don't agree with
He had her hands in her vest the whole time.
Professional manner. Explained to you the situation.
Right.
And at the end of it, told you that you were free to record, you just couldn't record kids.
Well, when she told me that, did you see what I told her?
Yeah. So again, that's your complaint, right?
Yeah, that definitely so.
I'll be right back.
All right. This is a 5'2". What does that mean? She's an armed tyrant.
Okay.
That's very intimidating.
You know how easy it is to disarm a woman?
He tried to make it seem like that's my point. You can now, if you want to yell, if you want to say, the police break laws.
If you can't disarm a woman from that distance, then
so
I
you
don't
can
know
do
what
you want to do, but it won't hold up in court. That was my thing and my point, and he didn't want to entertain that. So you can tell, man.
Not saying she couldn't handle it. But by the time she got that pistol out of the holster,
acting like the first two
it'd
we
been
just
too late.
encountered today. They are tyrants, man. We hope the chief of police. Matter of fact, we're gonna try to get we're gonna see about the rank. Right, for sure. So how does the rank go, Sergeant?
It's all online, man. Go ahead and look.
Oh, he a tyrant too, man.
No, he didn't. He gave you the paperwork.
That's crazy, man. So yeah, it is what it is, man. We gonna definitely fill this out real quick. We gonna definitely fill this out and get a copy, and we'll be good. We'll be ready to book on now.
Wow, TTA. So I really did not expect that. But then again, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
Again, I don't understand why an adult male, for absolutely no reason, I get it. Like I said, it's not illegal. It's not illegal. But why? It's your First Amendment right to record, but it's also, well, I can't say it's my First Amendment right to hit you in the mouth. But if I do it when it's not on camera, then who knows? Unless the library has cameras, which they do. Which is a reminder, Big Brother's always watching. Now we're going to head from a retard in a library trying to record kids to a man that did it because of revenge to their mother. This guy wants to get out of jail early. He wants to be paroled early. Does he get paroled? We will find out.
When interviewed, that the crime you committed was due to underlying situations. What were those underlying situations?
The toxic relationship that I was in and the stress that I felt from realizing that I was in a situation that I couldn't control.
So you were in a what you describe as an unhealthy relationship with the mother of the children, and your way of dealing with that was actually violating these young girls?
Yeah, it's not an excuse, but that was the result.
No, that was the choice you made.
And this hearing only gets worse. And if you can imagine 8 hearings, a max, so who cares, right? I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Jordan Trent, 421-300.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jordan Trent, inmate number 421-300. He is serving a sentence of 20 years jail, 6 years to serve, followed by 20 years of probation for 2 counts of illegal sexual contact with a victim under 13. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of June 6, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed. It shows the offender has completed the following programs: short track sex treatment program and domestic violence program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high grade of risk for recidivism. If utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low range. Mr. Trent, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
What's up, Andrea D? Hope you're doing well.
I thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak. I very much understand this is a privilege, so I also thank you for the chance to prove myself worthy, for the chance of having the long road of redemption laid out of me as a free man, God willing. Long before being locked up for my actions, I found myself in a state of self-loathing, contempt even. I understand my actions were vile, and I hated that I let anger from my situations make things so much worse for others. I didn't see how it was possible until I haven't taken these classes and haven't reflected on everything. Now I see how a string of situations and my feelings led to actions that should have never happened in the first place. I wish every day that I could undo it all, but sadly, all I can do is all I can do to make sure it's never possible again is continue treatment once I'm out. I have a great support system around me that I'm blessed with. I have many things to keep me busy with work once I am to be released, as well as 3 business ideas, one of which I'm currently putting together already. I am highly motivated to be accomplished and be the best father possible for my children, which currently desperately need me. So I humbly beg for you the chance to prove myself sooner rather than later. Again, thank you for this chance to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trent, for your opening statement. I appreciate your taking the time out to write down your thoughts. And I mean, I heard you talk about your children who desperately need you. Isn't one of your children a victim?
No.
Okay, so you have one daughter that's older, right? An adult?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what other children are you referring to?
My other child was just recently born during my incarceration.
And how old is that child?
She is 2 years, 9 months now.
You've been in jail for
We're
6
going to
years.
take some turns asking you questions. When we're done, we will deliberate and give you our decision. Ms. Turner, we'll start with the questions.
So, Mr. Trent, I know that you haven't taken the Voices program, but I didn't hear you say anything about the victims of your crime.
I definitely acknowledge the damage that my crime has inflicted on others. I shortly excerpted that in the letter that I've written, but I definitely understand now the classes, the damage that has been done, and the fact that I have to live with that.
Okay, so
Try to redeem myself as well as the victims have to live with that.
what do you think the damage was?
Mental misplacement of trust from my actions, as well as having to deal with the memories for the rest of their lives.
So that's trauma,
Yes, ma'am.
flashbacks, anxiety, probably some self-harm involved, because they're trying to, at a still young age, figure out what happened to them.
Yes, ma'am.
It's crimes that have no real explanation other than, the selfishness of the perpetrator. So in court, you declared your innocence. So now you are taking responsibility for your crimes?
Yes, ma'am. I declared my innocence against the nature in which crimes were divulged. It wasn't to that extent, but I am definitely doing all that I can. I've taken these classes. I've admitted to my actions as far as my recent review before this hearing, what my actions were.
So let me just see if I've got all the facts correct. So you were on probation at the time you violated these two children, ages 8 and 10. You were on probation for strangulation, unlawful restraint, and threatening.
No,
And for that, you've taken the domestic violence program?
I was not on probation at the time of the offenses. That was the domestic happened, and then I came out and was on probation.
Yeah, you had
That's-
3 years of probation
Yeah.
for the 2017 strangulation for which you served 6 months.
Right. And I never went back to the house after I was released.
Okay. So while you were committing acts of domestic violence against the children's mother, that's when you were also violating the girls and telling them that if you doing this to them kept you from hitting their mother.
That was never the case. The domestic
hear
situation
that
only
shit?
happened one time, and there was only one incident of that. There was never any priors to that. And that's why
Listen, motherfucker. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. It only takes one time. It only takes one time.
I left the house after being released.
So you didn't coerce the children with the sexual offenses by telling them doing that to them kept you from hitting their mom?
No, ma'am.
So they just made that up.
I believe so, yes.
Huh. Okay. So you said that when interviewed that the crime you committed was due to underlying situations. What were those underlying situations?
The toxic relationship that I was in and the stress that I felt from realizing that I was in a situation that I couldn't control.
So you were in what you describe as an unhealthy relationship with the mother of the children, and your way of dealing with that was sexually violating these young girls?
Yeah, it's not a
Yo, has this dude ever heard of getting a side chick? Come on, bro. I hope you get your fucking nuts sliced off in jail and shoved down your throat.
excuse, but that was the result.
No, that was the choice you made. Because that was the choice you made. Because any other reasonable thinking person
Right.
in a relationship that they found to be unhealthy would remove themselves from the relationship,
Correct.
not choose to cope by sexually violating prepubescent children.
2.
I agree.
So you have 3 standing criminal protective orders against you. Tell me what you understand that means.
No contact at all. What
Not through a third
communication,
party.
electronic, no.
Yeah, his
through
fucking
social-
cope is ridiculous. Like I said, there's so many things you can do that don't involve children, don't involve, actually hurting people. Like a side chick. Only weak men prey on weak women. Oh, that sounded bad. I mean, it's true. Weak men really do prey on weak women.
Media, not befriending them. Okay. So why would you choose, while incarcerated, to make Pruno to sell to other inmates?
Pruno.
I was being idiotic. I was desperate for having something extra to eat, and at the time, I thought the idea wouldn't be that bad.
Not trying if you say were or weren't. Yeah, they weren't his kids. They were the mother's kids, but she was with them.
And it turned out that it was very idiotic.
Well, it's beyond that, sir. It's destructive because there are actually people there in the facility who are working to address their own addiction to substances. And by producing and circulating Pruno, you are undermining the recovery of potentially dozens of people there in the prison. So you get a Class A contraband ticket in March of 2022, and you do this.
What's up, Dom? Bro, telemarketers get really mad when they say, you ask them, hey, is this being recorded? Yes, sir, for quality assurance. Well, then fuck no. Click.
Same damn thing in May of 2023. You probably did it throughout that whole period, but you got caught again in May of 2023.
Yes, ma'am. The second time it was for myself, but it doesn't excuse the behavior.
No, it doesn't. So by the looks of it, you need an addiction services program, especially if you're making Pruno to cope with being in prison. You should probably take a fatherhood program if you're going to hope to have any contact with your daughter when you're out of prison and on the sex offender registry for 10 years. And you clearly need the Voices program.
No, the daughter they're talking about is 2.5 years old. He had nothing to do with that kid because he's been in jail for 6 years, which, again,
you'll make the most of the time remaining before you go out to 20 years of probation, 10 years on the sex offender registry, and abide by the standing criminal protective orders against you. But I'm interested to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmieri?
So, Mr. Trent, I just have a couple of follow-ups. So on the evaluation for the domestic violence program, you said that you stated in group that some of the domestic violence didn't apply to you. What did you mean by that?
What?
Some of what was discussed in the group, what?
A lot of the things that were being discussed as far as the brutality that was being done, which we were doing in a lot of the classes that we were going through, I did not agree with at all for the simple fact of I've never reached that level.
Okay.
So I disagree with a lot of what was being implied.
What level, asshole? There's not much more you can do from there.
As to my reason for taking the class.
Did you find any of the class useful, helpful?
Yes. I learned a lot of cognitive distorted thinking and how being very selfish can lead to the aspect of not considering another's feelings, whether it's yelling, arguing, screaming, getting physical, and how to remove yourself from a situation once you start feeling you're getting towards that.
Were you able to see yourself as being a person committing domestic violence?
Yes.
Against another?
I was able to see the victim's point of view. I was able to understand.
You got your ass beat in prison by your cellie?
The verbal, especially the verbal aspect of when I would get mad and the things that I would say.
And then my other question to you is, you made a comment, and I'm not 100% sure where I read it, that the children may or may not have seen things on your phone. What did you mean by that?
I was very careless with my phone a lot of the time.
Sorry, I keep forgetting.
And I would be on my phone looking at solicited things, and I would get up and absentmindedly leave my phone alone. Sometimes I would come back, I wouldn't remember if it was on the screen still or not, but there were times where they would have my phone after I left the room, came back in, and then they're on games.
So were there inappropriate things on your phone that the children should not have been witnessing?
And there were very well, probably more than likely that was the case.
Thank you, Mr. Trent. I can see here.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri.
I don't think they
give us
just
a few
found
minutes
the
to talk
phone.
about your case, Mr. Trent. I have to be honest and say that what you're saying here today is completely different than what I've read. When the officer asked you about your responsibility for your case, you told him that you disagreed with it and that you just copped out to the charges. But now today you're saying, it's almost like you're removed from the situation. I'm remorseful for the situation or something you said. So it's concerning to me. But give us a few minutes to talk about your case, sir, and we will give you all the decision. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Trent, so you sit here today and you are accepting responsibility for the harm you caused these young children in violating them sexually?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when are you going to tell your mother that you did commit these crimes?
My mother knows.
Oh, okay. When did you tell her?
I told her right after realizing that I need the help.
When
to
was
understand.
that? While you were inside
Yes,
in prison?
yes, ma'am.
How you gonna tell your mom after
Because
you're
she
already
was supporting you so strongly
She thought he was
before you
innocent.
were sentenced and absolutely certain that you did not do the things that you were charged with. So, she's going to continue to be part of your support network and also perhaps a connection to other children in your life. She needs to be aware that you actually did harm these children.
I
Okay.
understand. Upon taking the class, there was a moment in which I even relayed this in class that everyone now knows, and everyone has decided to stand by me because they see that I'm trying to do something about it.
No, fuck you, dude.
Aren't you fortunate for that? On to deliberations. So Mr. Trent has a criminal history that involves convictions in Georgia and domestic violence. He's got the sex offender registry, standing criminal protective orders against him, and 20 years of probation ahead of him. So I think, as I pointed out, there are plenty of programs he can avail himself of while he continues with this period of incarceration to prepare him to be successful when he's back out in the community. The fact that he was doing the things he was doing to harm children with the, unbelievable justification of a, toxic relationship, and then coming into prison and manufacturing a note of, to get money on his commissary account. It's just insane.
He hasn't learned shit.
So it's a no for me.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmieri.
I also do not find Mr. Trent suitable for parole today. The primary reports the nature and circumstance of the offense, for the partial responsibility for the offense. And as you pointed out earlier, his version is varies from what the actual documents provide.
Okay. All right. So the reasons for denial are inadequate evidence of offender change.
Oh, hold on. Nature and circumstances.
Yeah.
Offense on probation.
Yeah.
Poor institutional adjustment.
Yeah.
Oh.
Inadequate evidence of offender change.
Yeah.
And I had inadequate release plan.
With regard to Jordan Trent 421300, I move that his request for discretionary parole be denied for the following reasons. There's inadequate evidence of offender change. You have an inadequate release plan. The nature and circumstance of your offenses were committed while they were on probation, and your poor institutional adjustment as evidenced by the disciplinary infractions. You will not receive a new hearing. I just want to acknowledge for the record that your mother did submit a support letter on your behalf. Is there a second to the motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Trent, you will receive all of this in writing. We wish you the best of luck, sir.
Thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Jordan Trent.
Let's read.
Sometimes, like I said, the justice system does do its job. And sometimes it doesn't. And I'm kind of like thinking to myself as I was watching this, I'm kind of glad that that panel, the what do you call them? Panel, were all female. Kind of made it a little bit more satisfying, knowing that he had to look at those three women, knowing that he sexually assaulted two girls, 8 and 10, and that realized he has no chance of parole. Isn't it great? Look on his face when she said denied. That was amazeballs. Wasn't it? All right. So these next two stories are pretty much trigger warnings. If you believe in those things, which I don't. Because reality is reality. If it triggers you, it triggers you. I've dealt with it. We all dealt with it. It's called resiliency. Anyway. Fuck, I don't remember what this was when I watched it. I don't remember what happened in this one, to be honest. I've been up like since 3. Again.
An autopsy performed on the 3-year-old Sullivan County boy allegedly beaten to death by his mother and 2 of her friends may indicate the child was sexually abused. The examination also confirmed police suspicions that
deserves every fucking thing she's got coming her way. She will never see the outside of that jail cell ever again. She might as well get fucking comfortable. Oh no, she wasn't granted. Absolutely not. Denied. 100% she was told to fuck off.
the boy had been severely abused. The mother, 27-year-old Tracy Irwin, her boyfriend, 33-year-old William Banker, and this friend are all charged with the child's murder. Investigators say Gardner was beaten to death Wednesday after he admitted taking a piece of candy.
Blood in his ears, had a bite mark on his right forearm, and different bruises and cuts in varying stages of healing. There's nothing in the world that I've ever seen as bad as how bad that kid was beat up.
Christopher Irwin Gardner was born on May 18th of 1994 and resided in the town of Mamakating in Sullivan County, New York. He was born to a woman named Tracy Ann Irwin, 27 years old. Their home was located on Mountain Road, just about an hour and a half away from Manhattan, about 65 miles northwest of the city. He had one younger sibling who you'll see him pictured with here, in one of the few photos of him that exist. When it came to his father, he wasn't in the picture often. He lived out of state. By the time 1998 rolled around, his mother was in a new relationship and living with a man by the name of William Banker, age 33, whom would act as a, quote, father figure to Christopher. Christopher was described as a lively and happy child, known for his wavy brown hair and big blue eyes. At just 3 years old, he was at that age where kids are curious, developing a personality and sense of humor, and getting to know other kids his age. It was said that Christopher might have suffered from a learning disability, which needed to be handled with care and patience. But unfortunately, the innocent and adorable 3-year-old would be met with the complete opposite, and the smile that could be seen on his face in pictures was just a mask, and it covered the truth, a life of unimaginable cruelty. Now, I would love to be sitting here before you, telling you all about Christopher's happier days, telling you stories about the family who loved and protected him, but unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. From this point forward, we have no choice but to focus on tragic events that unfolded in April of 1998, and I do have to warn that the details are going to be extremely disturbing for some, so please, go in with caution. On April 1st of 1998, a paramedic for Hudson Valley Ambulance by the name of Michael Shabbat was visiting his mother at her home, also on Mountain Road. It was his day off, and visiting his mother while he had time was something he had done plenty of times before, but this day was very different. After a while of being at his mother's house, he would see a woman next door who appeared worried and frantic. She paced back and forth as she held onto a cordless home phone, as if she was trying to desperately reach someone. Given his experience in this line of work, it wasn't hard for him to recognize that something was very off. He put on his uniform shirt and made his way over to the woman's front porch to see if he could help. The woman pacing back and forth was Tracy Irwin. She lived right by the paramedic's mother. But what he found when he got there was something that he could have never imagined. As he approached the picnic table outside,
You know, I've realized since I'm 17 years old, my mornings are pretty much just caffeine and stupidity. I really don't eat breakfast. Still haven't, but I can drink fucking caffeine like a motherfucker.
he saw 3-year-old Christopher
Random.
laying there, half conscious, and in absolutely horrifying shape.
The fuck?
Within seconds of looking at him, the paramedic would notice injuries all over his small body. A large bruise across his forehead, blood coming out of his ears, his nose, and his mouth. Bruises covered every last inch of his tiny frame. His left arm was broken in 2 places. He had a deep bite mark on his right forearm and various other lacerations all over, some that looked very fresh, while others looked like they had been there for a long time, slowly healing. Christopher was dying right before his eyes. He had never seen anything worse during his time on the job. A call was
Didn't realize it was about this. All 3 of them need to have their life destroyed if they haven't already. Leaving marks on kids, bruises on kids, and getting away with it fucking sucks. I hope they are not living still. Because even if that kid lived, that abuse, no matter, you know what? That's a source.
made to 911 by Irwin, who reported that her child fell down the stairs. Authorities and more medics arrived shortly, and Christopher was flown to St. Francis Hospital in Poughkeepsie. They tried everything they could to save his life, and he tried with everything he had to hang on. But almost 7 hours later, Christopher Gardner was pronounced dead, just a month shy of his 4th birthday. Of course, authorities immediately turned their attention to Tracy Irwin and William Banker. Christopher was in their care, and there didn't seem to be too much emotion when they were questioned. It was almost like they really believed that authorities
my
would
kids
believe
know
their
exactly
story
what it
about
is.
him falling.
And the fear of it happening, because I don't really need to. I don't have to. They're well disciplined, and I guess it goes back to being the military leader. You can get people to be afraid of you. That sounded bad too. That sounded really bad. But they know. And they know.
Down the stairs, like they had no idea what happened to him. But of course, the tactic failed.
It's the fucking glasses,
It wouldn't take
guys.
long before both Tracy Irwin and William Banker were both put in handcuffs and arrested. Also arrested was 31-year-old Gianna Lynn Lester, also known as Jeannie, said to be the landlord of the 2-family bi-level home where Christopher and his family lived. She, her husband, and their children also lived there. It was said that she was also at the home when the child sustained these horrifying injuries. Authorities had no doubt that they were somehow responsible, and upon questioning the 3 of them, they would try to lie and say they did nothing to harm the child.
Yeah, but
of course,
that's what
this
I
was
have
very far
my
from the
issue.
truth.
Is I was bad. And I'm glad I got out of the army when I did. I mean, that wasn't the kind of fear you want. That was one of those ticking time bomb fears that they had.
The truth of Christopher's last moments was much more horrible than anyone could have ever imagined. Authorities will learn that this all started when Christopher took a piece of Bridge Mix candy from one of the adults. As if he had committed some sort of crime, he was grabbed and asked if he took the candy. His reply was yes, he had. This response from the child, for whatever reason, unleashed a level of rage that could only be described as heinous. William Banker and Jeannie Lester took Christopher and threw him into the bathroom, closing the door behind them, and they would begin to beat his small body mercilessly for the next hour. Tracy Irwin, his so-called mother, would sit in the other room and do absolutely nothing as they dragged, punched, and kicked Christopher as he screamed and cried in pain. She didn't lift a finger to help, and she couldn't care less. When the hour was up,
Some moms just
Lester
do that.
left the home, and Tracy Irwin would join William Banker in the bathroom to help inflict more unimaginable pain on the child for another 2 hours. They stuffed a dirty sock in his mouth to muffle his cries and continued to use him as a human punching bag, holding nothing back. They smoked cigarettes and used his body as an ashtray, branding his skin with small holes from putting the cigarettes out. According to them, at one point, Christopher took the sock out of his mouth and did what he could to defend himself by biting one of them. Both Irwin and Banker would begin to bite him back, creating multiple deep bite marks that went through his skin, and they were everywhere. Irwin would then step on the child as he lay on the ground, putting all of her weight on his stomach as all of the air left his body and his internal organs were squashed.
What the
They threw him
fuck?
into the bathtub, full force, forcing him under cold water. They then took him out of the bathtub and splashed him with scalding hot water, badly burning him. Christopher was then taken and thrown across the room like a rag doll and thrown down flights of stairs multiple times, resulting in his arms breaking, all while they continued to punch, kick, and toss the child around the home without a second thought, using a leather belt to whip him constantly until the belt was covered in his blood. 3 long hours of pure torture over a piece of candy. They would all be charged with second-degree murder the following morning, on Thursday, April 2nd of 1998. It was clear to authorities that this child suffered, but hearing the details come out of their mouths, it was sickening. A few days later, an official autopsy report
Yeah, I was
was now
fucking
ready for the
16.
authorities to review, and as hard as this may be to believe, it was even worse than they thought. The official reports would show the full extent of this child's suffering. It would take several hours just to count the number of injuries on his small body. The reports would show that the hours-long attack by these
Lacerated liver,
monsters
holy
resulted in almost
shit.
100 separate injuries. His body was discolored, appearing as a mix of blue and red from all the bruising. He suffered broken arms, burns to his torso, a broken jaw, bite marks, a collapsed lung, and a torn liver. Upon further examination, they would see that his private areas also had severe bruising and lacerations. He also appeared to be violated with severe injuries to his backside. Anything they could have done to him, they did. Hours of torture, and he had no means of escape. When he was found, he was half conscious, meaning that he felt every last bit of what was done to him. An innocent child's life brutally ended by 3 that many wouldn't even bother to call human, more like 3 demons who just wanted to inflict as much damage as possible to a defenseless child. It would also be learned that before Christopher's life was taken, calls were made to child services about the conditions of the home and possible abuse, calls that went ignored.
Again,
Neighbors said that they often saw
system does fail
Christopher
too.
and the kids that belonged to Lester looking, quote, neglected and bedraggled, on top of them being mistreated and spoken to as if they were nothing.
The kids outside playing, you hear them screaming like, "Get your effing ass in here, you little bastards," all kinds of stuff. They were just real bad.
I don't know if they were abused or not, but they look kind of bedraggled and neglected.
Once all the information was in, it was clear that these 3 knew exactly what they were doing, and they made a conscious decision to make the child suffer. After the arrests, District Attorney Stephen Lungen was now making it his mission to see that Irwin, Banker, and Lester never saw freedom again. The idea was to make sure they all felt the effects of New York's capital punishment law, which was still considered pretty new at the time. In other words, He wanted to make sure that they would receive the lethal injection and nothing less. His next step was to gather investigators and seek the help of the National Law Enforcement and Corrections Technology Center, a company that was created in 1994 and had never worked on anything like this. But they were able to use the tech that they had available to them in a variety of ways. They would utilize their law enforcement analysis facility, also known as LEAF, to recreate the injuries on Christopher's body, using computers to give a timeline of his injuries. For example, photos taken after he drew his last breath that showed all of his injuries were edited to show what his body would look like without those injuries. Then, one by one, the real photos would appear, showing one injury after another, as they would begin to cover his small body. This was done to show just how horrible this heartless attack was, to show the full extent of the severity, and to show that Christopher was indeed tortured over the course of 3 to 4 hours. Their ultimate goal was to show that whether it was low IQ, drug abuse, or whatever other excuses the defense could have thought of to minimize their roles in this terrible act, these full-grown adults certainly knew exactly what they were doing. There was no way around it. Upon seeing the recreation of the sickening injuries, Irwin and Banker would have no choice but to now plead guilty to first-degree murder. For a short time, Irwin and Banker changed their pleas. This was only after their defense attorneys saw the computer-generated presentation that was put together by Leaf. But in the end, between their own admissions and the overwhelming evidence, they both pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in exchange for life in prison, without the possibility of ever getting parole. Irwin would spend the rest of her days at Bedford Hills Maximum Security Prison in Westchester County. William Banker was held at Great Meadow Maximum Security Prison in Washington County, New York, a prison that shut down just this month, November of 2024. He's now held at Clinton Correctional, where he'll spend his remaining days. After his sentencing, as he was let out of the courtroom, Banker looked over at the district attorney and gave him the finger. Clearly, he had learned nothing and showed no remorse. They're right where they belong, and they'll never be free again. Gianna Lester admitted to beating Christopher for an hour before leaving and returning later to place a call to 911. She pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of first-degree assault. She would only serve 4.5 years out of her 7-year sentence. She was released from Bedford Hills Prison in 2002. She's free today. For Christopher, the only moment of relief he felt on April 1st of 1998 was the moment his pain came to an end, free from a short and tragic life of neglect, abuse, and ultimately, horrible torture, something he had been faced with for who knows how long. He barely got to live at all. The child once known for his adorable face and brown curls would soon become known for his final, horrifying moments as Sullivan County's most horrific case of abuse, left in the care of monsters who just wanted to watch him suffer. As a community became outraged at his life coming to such a horrible end, the articles, the cries for justice, the promises to never let this happen again would quickly fade away, like they always do. What was supposed to be the Christopher Gardner Act, a bill that would have promised much harsher penalties for crimes like these, was never approved. The bill was dismissed and never taken seriously. Christopher, like many children before and after him, suffered a truly horrendous fate. And as often is the case, those who could have taken the proper steps to prevent this tragedy and others just like it would instead become caught up trying to defend themselves and their lack of action when they should have been trying to come up with a solution. Many will say that the blame only falls on those who committed the act. It's clear who's responsible. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a job to be done. Those who have been hired at child services and other agencies are in these positions for a reason, and the child, along with prevention, should always be the priority. When there's a crime being committed, or someone is in need of aid when they're near death, you wouldn't expect for authorities and paramedics to walk by you and say it isn't their problem because they weren't the ones that hurt you. They still have a job, and they're expected to carry it out, no matter what. The same goes for child services and bills that should be passed to try and prevent horror stories like this. Different parties all play their role, and while everyone is so busy debating whose responsibility it was, it's innocent children like these that will continue to pay the ultimate price. While all three of the demons responsible for this crime are alive today, Christopher Gardner's final resting place would be at Hillside Cemetery in Middletown, New York, where he was buried. Etched into his headstone are the words, Christopher Irwin Gardner, God's gift, returned to God. If alive today, he would be 30 years old. Rest in peace, Christopher Gardner, and my deepest condolences go out to his surviving sibling. You aren't forgotten.
Oh man,
You
that
may remember.
that shows the justice system fails when it comes to at least arresting and prosecuting, investigating. Justice system fucking sucks ass balls. I know it did for a fact in the late 80s. Man, I don't know. Really don't know if it's gotten better or not. You look at the news and you see shit like that just happened. Not everybody grows up. But, yeah, we got time for one more.
Remember this disturbing slideshow on TikTok telling you not to look up this photo where you are greeted by two eerie-looking parents, then their daughter, then a censored, gut-wrenching crime scene. This is the case of Lacey Fletcher, a woman who had melted into her couch.
When I walked in, the house smelled of a stench of, it smelled like a sewer.
Over a period of
That's
12
not what
years,
death
Lacey's
smells like.
parents watched as their daughter faded away. But were they as helpless and innocent as they claim? The red flags suggest something more sinister was at play.
This case literally gave me the chills.
Now, in 2024, the criminal justice system has found new details that could conclude this real-life horror story once and for all. So, what exactly happened to Lacey Fletcher? Who did this to her? And, most importantly, why did they do it? It
That
was
makes
the
sense.
year 2022, in what appeared to be a peaceful, rural setting of East Feliciana Parish of Louisiana. There was a small town that was about to live up to its awful name, Slaughter. In this town, on Tom Drive, was a beautiful two-story ranch-style residence, home to 64-year-old Sheila Fletcher, 65-year-old Clay Fletcher, and their only child, 36-year-old Lacey. Just two elderly parents with their adult daughter. They must have been nice parents to let her live with them at this age, right? Well, the disturbing truth would be revealed on January 3rd, 2022. Yes, just 2 days after the new year, the mother, Sheila, dialed 911. She informed responders that her daughter had suddenly stopped breathing. Emergency personnel were sent out right away. Little did they know they would be entering a house that would leave them mentally scarred for life.
When I got there, the officers, the first responders on scene were just in a daze.
There was Lacey Fletcher, bent on her side, in nothing but a shirt deep into a 1960s style sofa. Her feet were crossed beneath her, and her underside was covered in ulcers and looked to have rotted to the bone. The hole in the couch that her body created was filled with urine and feces, like a makeshift latrine. Fecal matter was found on her face, chest, and abdomen. The weight of the bodily excretions was heavy enough for the very floor beneath the couch to buckle. Her hair was unbrushed, matted, and infested with maggots. Her very body was fused with the couch. Dr. U.L. Bickham, a coroner, who was called to look at the scene and perform Lacey's autopsy, described the awful smell of the scene.
The house smelled of a stench of, it smelled like a sewer, a septic tank, and also a smell of death. I've never smelled that in my life. I've dealt with
Oh, you never forget
decomposed
it, though.
bodies. I've dealt with all sorts of death, degradation, whatever. Never experienced this in all of my career.
The next thing he saw was Lacey's parents.
When I walked through the door, to the right of me in the kitchen, Clay and Sheila Fletcher were standing there. Clay was standing there emotionless. The mom had her head between her knees. I saw a tear or two.
Even as an experienced coroner, the scene was too heavy for Dr. Bickham, and years later, it was still a memory far too disturbing to recall.
To the left was the living room where Lacey was. I immediately went through there. I didn't stop and socialize with the parents. I went in there where Lacey was. And
Bickham recorded that the time of death happened
What's
at
up, Ruth?
3:07 a.m. on January 3rd, 2022, but also believed that Lacey may have been deceased up to 48 hours prior.
Man, she
As
fucking
for the
had
state
maggots.
that Lacey was found in, well, that led the coroner to suspect the daughter had been sitting in her filth for some time, approximately 12 years. It was a horrible scene, and the first thing the responders wondered was,
Goddamn.
why and how did this whole terrifying circumstance come to be? The Fletchers did their best to explain, but did their claims align with the evidence? The Fletchers alleged that Lacey was suffering from Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism spectrum disorder, and social anxiety to the extent that she refused to leave the living room, and subsequently, the couch. But how did that explain Lacey not moving around at all?
Yeah.
Well, her parents claimed this was due to locked-in syndrome, a rare and serious neurological disorder that causes the body to experience paralysis, except for eye movement. The mind, however, is
For 12 fucking years?
conscious, allowing Lacey to have thoughts, but the only way to communicate would be through blinking eye movements. This disorder is caused when a part of the brainstem is damaged, either from brain injuries, diseases, or medication overdose. They said that they tried to get her medical attention, but it was Lacey herself who refused, not wanting to leave the couch. The Fletchers asserted that they'd never neglected her. They claimed that they provided their daughter with meals and even a makeshift potty. Sheila Fletcher also made it a routine to clean the sores on her daughter's body, despite the fact that Lacey had never complained about them. The mother would even go home for lunch every single day to eat with and take care of her daughter. Yes, Clay and Sheila said that they loved Lacey to death.
Yo, what the
It was
fuck
their
with this
daughter,
face?
the parents claimed, who made things difficult. Lacey wouldn't use the potty they supplied her with and instead opted for the couch or towel. She refused the food they served her. She seemed intent on living in conditions that would drive others to insanity. Still, Sheila tried, and every night she would sleep on the couch
insisted.
with her daughter.
Who keeps
On
telling
January
you she
2nd,
insisted? The parents.
a day before the incident, Sheila claimed that Lacey ate half a sandwich with Cheetos. The last time she saw Lacey alive was that night at 10 p.m., only to wake up and find her daughter deceased the next day. However, everyone and everything seemed to contradict their recollection of events, which begged the question, were the Fletchers lying? See, those who knew Lacey when she was young described her as a normal child. She played with the neighbors and went to school. She loved Disney movies and volleyball. A neighbor had described her as different from those her age, as she was more childlike than the rest, but she was smart. It was true that she was diagnosed with autism, but Lacey's mental condition, later on, worsened around the year 2000, when she was 14 years old. At that time, medical records proved that Lacey's parents took her to a psychologist, Dr. Donald Hopi, due to the development of her social anxiety. Dr. Hopi was able to confirm that Lacey's social anxiety was severe. Lacey's Asperger's had developed around 9th grade, around the time they pulled their daughter out of Brownfields Baptist Academy to put her under a homeschool program. From 2000 to 2002, she met with Dr. Hopi for 12 sessions, but he hasn't seen her since. Then, something unexpected happened. In 2010, Lacey allegedly refused to leave their living room, leaving her parents to return to Dr. Hopi without Lacey. They also said that she was urinating and defecating on the floor. Dr. Hopi advised them to consider hospitalization and provided steps to help Lacey, but the doctor never heard from or saw the Fletchers ever again. Needless to say, Lacey was never hospitalized nor treated. And while her autism diagnosis was real, the managing editor of The Age of Autism, Kim Rossi, wasn't satisfied with the parents' excuse. She said, autism has become very watered down as a diagnosis. What was keeping her on the couch? And why didn't the parents take advantage of the numerous resources available to them? Moreover, experts strongly questioned the claims that Lacey suffered from locked-in syndrome. Numerous professionals who worked with the disorder claimed that Lacey's alleged diagnosis had no validity. The coroner, Dr. Bickham, outright denied that Lacey had this condition, stating, "The only diagnoses I know she did have was first, social anxiety, severe autism, and that's it. Those are her only two diagnoses." Dr. Bickham further supported his claim by bringing up how her legs were positioned when he found her.
Talking about her legs being crossed, Basically, because of her condition, and this has been years, her legs were crossed because they were in contractures. What we call contractures. The muscles, tendons, bones just become so immobile from not being moved that they just stiffen and they stay that way. And she was like that in that position because she was in so much pain that she was trying to lift her body out of that hole because it hurt, it stung, it was horrible. She didn't have the energy to lift her body out of that hole.
Dr. Bickham didn't believe Lacey's parents when they said they never neglected her. In his eyes, the evidence spoke for itself, and even the parents' story of the events leading to Lacey's death didn't add up. Dr. Bickham's office was able to find out that Sheila and Clay Fletcher were actually away on a trip the weekend that Lacey died. And while they claimed she had half a sandwich and Cheetos to eat that night, there was no evidence of food or water anywhere near her or inside of her.
The only thing I saw was a small bag of hard candy, some type of like butterscotch or just candy, peppermint type candy, and that was it. That's the only nourishment she probably had, because I'll just not try to be too graphic, but in her stomach she had the yellow foam from the sofa and feces. So you take it from there.
In fact, every detail of the crime scene directly opposed all of the Fletchers' claims. If Sheila was taking care of her hygiene, why was Lacey's hair matted, knotted, and riddled with maggots? If Sheila even made attempts to feed her, but was challenged only by Lacey's refusal, why was Lacey going out of her way to ingest her own excrement and the couch foam? If the mother slept next to her daughter every night, how was she able to stand the maggots all over the couch and the putrid stench? Bickham even questioned if the Fletchers lived there at all. The stench in that house was unlike anything I've ever experienced, he said. There was no way anyone could stand even being in there, and I'm not sure the parents even lived there. And online, those who followed the case closely felt that the Fletcher story wasn't adding up.
The dispatcher again says, how old was she? She says 31. She was 36.
Yeah, I was going to say she was 30.
How do you not know your daughter's age?
And poking holes in the Fletcher story didn't stop there. I'm left with a multitude of seemingly simple to answer, yet still unanswered questions. Why was she naked? Why did they attempt to put a shirt on her despite already being deceased? Why was she covered in feces, including her face and hair, if not by her own doing? Why was the only thing she ate towards the end of her life only sofa cushion and feces? Why did her parents stop tending to her? It appears they did at one point, because it would have been impossible for her to survive on just sofa cushion for 12 years. Plus, I'd imagine she'd run out of sofa. Why did it all start at that age? Are the parents serious when they say she just stopped wanting to leave? It seemed also sudden. If it was a gradual onset of anxiety, surely it would have been like going outside was phased out. The photo of the couch is disturbing and could make some people feel nauseous. I can't imagine how any parents could allow their child to live in such a state, or how they could continue to live in a house with such a gruesome sight and smell. They want to paint the picture that they weren't unloving parents, but they were confused and tried their best. Not knowing better, I don't buy it for a second. There is no one who can corroborate any part of the story. There is a reason she stayed home. There was a reason they don't have visitors. I don't buy any part of this story. In fact, even those who knew the couple personally weren't sold on their version of events, or that they ever loved their daughter as much as they claimed. After all, Lacey's death had shocked the community, and not just because of the disturbing state she was found in.
Neighbors and friends say they never knew they had a daughter.
Yes, various people who had known the Fletchers were entirely unaware that they had a daughter, leading many to question, had Tom and Sheila been hiding Lacey?
I can tell you that we didn't know that they had a daughter until this happened.
Oh, okay.
And my husband worked shift work, and he saw everything at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And how long have you been a neighbor? So like you didn't even...
I've lived here 12 years.
So you've lived here 12 years, and this entire time you didn't even know there was a daughter that was living inside that home?
No.
Diana Fitzpatrick Logue was a caretaker that Sheila Fletcher hired for her mother, who was suffering from dementia. She was able to see firsthand how much effort Sheila would put into taking care of her loved ones, or at least the ones she wanted to. Diana said, Sheila was upset at the time she hired me because she felt the former caregiver had not treated her mother well, so she had cameras 24/7 to make sure she was watching me. Can you believe that? So much care for her mother and none for Lacey. Diana didn't even know Sheila had a daughter until she found a container with Lacey's name on it. No one from the family even mentioned her, except for Sheila's mother. In fact, despite having dementia, the grandmother asked about Lacey during one of her lucid moments. When caretaker Diana found out about Lacey's passing, she texted Sheila that it looked like the cameras were in the wrong house. Robert Blades, the Fletchers' longtime neighbor, knew about Lacey but had no idea she was still living at their house. The last time Robert saw her was 15 years before the ordeal. He remembered that the last time he saw her, she was thin but appeared normal.
I don't know, she just looked like a young woman. She was, she had these little, what do you call the little weights that you hold in your hand? The little dumbbells?
Yeah.
Yes, she'd walk from her house around the circle, and she used to do that, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week.
Robert just assumed that Lacey must have moved on with her life. So, 5 years before the incident, Robert casually asked how Lacey was doing and whether or not she was at college. Lacey's father, Clay, responded by briefly explaining Lacey was still at home and she was fine. He then changed the subject. At the time, Robert had no reason not to take the father at his word, but after learning about Lacey's passing and the way she was found, the neighbor was shocked. He told the Daily Mail, "She was a sweet girl. I wouldn't even treat my dogs like that. I would have cried like a baby if I'd had seen her like that. That's just unspeakable." Still, Robert professed that he didn't expect this from Clay and Sheila Fletcher of all people, and he wasn't the only one. But what kind of people were the Fletchers, according to their friends and family? The couple was said to be regular attendants of the Baptist church near Zachary, Louisiana, and seemed to be good, upright members of the community. Sheila Fletcher used to be a police and court clerk in the city of Baker, and later on became the city prosecutor assistant in Zachary. She was also a part of Slaughter's Board of Aldermen for 4 years, and had only quit 3 weeks after Lacey's body was found. Clay Fletcher was an officer for the Baton Rouge Civil War Roundtable, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and expanding interest in the military, political, and history of the American Civil War. His colleague and the organization's director, John Potts, had worked with Clay for 6 years. John couldn't even fathom that Clay did this. But then again, he also didn't know that Clay had a daughter until her passing.
Shock. Because it doesn't match with my experience of him. He's
Dude looks like Lindsey
completely
Graham.
different than what you would expect someone like that to be.
Despite his initial good faith in the couple, Robert Blade believed that the only reason Sheila Fletcher made the 911 call was because she had no choice. He suggested one neighbor, though he doesn't know who, might have seen Lacey on the couch and told the Fletchers that they should call the police. But Robert said that that was all he knew and not much more. Robert's claims may be referring to the husband of the neighbor who was interviewed by News Nation, although there is yet to be definite confirmation. However, one thing was certain. The moment Sheila called emergency services was the moment the Fletcher's lies began. When Sheila Fletcher made that 911 call, the operator gave her instructions to perform CPR, and Clay Fletcher was the one to conduct the procedure. The call was able to pick up the sounds of Clay supposedly employing CPR on his daughter.
Are we doing compressions or on the couch?
Yeah.
We can do compressions on the couch then.
You have to be on a flat object.
Are we doing compressions now?
Yeah.
From that audio, it sounded like Clay was trying to do CPR, but retired forensic pathologist, former medical examiner, and former law enforcement, Dr. Michelle Dupree, didn't believe that they were doing CPR at all.
It was not CPR. It would be impossible to do CPR to Lacey in her condition. She was not able to even be stretched out. It would not be possible. That was not CPR.
But regardless of whatever anyone had to say about the Fletchers, Lacey's body exposed the truth about how they treated her. At the end of the investigation, Dr. Dana Troxclair, the chief forensic pathologist of the Jefferson Parish Coroner's Office, was able to determine the cause of Lacey's death. Lacey was suffering from chronic malnutrition, acute starvation, and severe chronic bone infection. From head to toe, her body was littered with stage 4 decubitus ulcers, some of which nurtured maggots. Her hair was so matted that Dr. Troxclair had to use a scalpel to untangle and cut the locks to perform the autopsy. Her body was also enduring kidney failure and a flattened tailbone due to the pressure of sitting for such a long period of time. Lacey's corpse weighed 96 pounds and was positive for COVID-19. Ultimately, however, her official cause of death was sepsis, a reaction to the state of her body. As for what was responsible for Lacey's state, become confirmed that this was thanks to the acute medical neglect
Didn't
that
hear
her
broken
parents
ribs.
inflicted on her. Within weeks of Lacey's discovery, Clay and Sheila Fletcher were arrested. In their talk with the detectives, Clay and Sheila maintain that their daughter was of sound mind and was able to make decisions on her own, blaming the victim for her own tragic predicament. This meant it was up to the court to decide what the truth was. But what exactly could the Fletchers be facing if found guilty? With all the evidence, Judicial District Attorney Sam D'Aquila had enough to summon a grand jury to formally charge Sheila and Clay Fletcher with second-degree murder due to their severe medical neglect. Generally, a second-degree murder charge is reserved for a murder that was committed with malicious intent, but not with premeditation. In the state of Louisiana, second-degree murder is considered a Class A felony. Those who are found guilty can be sentenced to life. An expert stated that a second-degree murder charge was unusual, as manslaughter or criminal negligence are the usual charges for cases of neglect such as this. But the state Lacey was founded may have influenced the pursuit of a more serious charge.
Really?
D'Aquila, for one, believed that Lacey's parents wanted to kill her, which led to them being indicted on second-degree murder charges in early May 2022. Here you can see Sheila Fletcher walking out of jail. She was walking straight ahead, not making eye contact with anyone, and not one word was heard from her mouth. After 24 hours, Sheila walked out of jail for posting her bond with Clay, following about 12 hours later. The Fletchers then met with their attorney, Stephen Moore, to attempt to drop the second-degree murder charges, a motion that succeeded. Yes. On May 8, 2023, the Fletchers' defense attorney presented several mistakes that were made in the court's papers, like corrections on personal information, changed wording, layout modifications, and a missing signature from the grand jury foreperson, which is needed to make charges official. Due to the missing signature and lack of specific intent, this was enough for the judge to drop the charges. After that, the Fletchers still refused to speak to the press.
Can you explain why she was on that couch for 12 years? You have nothing to say?
However, District Attorney D'Aquila wasn't deterred. Despite the original charges being dropped due to mistakes, D'Aquila decided to charge the Fletchers again with the same crime. And, sure enough, on July 19, 2023, they were rearrested and re-indicted on second-degree murder charges. D'Aquila emphasized, "We will ensure there is justice for Lacey, and the public knows that caregivers will be charged for neglecting or abusing a person in their care." Clay and Lacey Fletcher spent a total of 18 months fighting to deny the second-degree murder charge, but the facts were against them. It was only at the last minute of their trial that they changed their tune. In February 2024, when the parents stood in the Louisiana court before District Judge Jones, they decided to give in to the consequences of their criminal actions. However, it wasn't for the charges that they originally faced. Instead of fighting against the second-degree murder charges, the Fletchers pleaded no contest to the charges of manslaughter. Their attorney had this to say.
The Fletchers had never had an intent to harm their daughter. The Fletchers played no contest.
They never had any intent to harm their daughter? Bullshit. Straight bullshit. They knew what the fuck they were doing.
Contest to the manslaughter because there was no intent to harm their daughter. They were negligent. Yes, it is clear they were negligent. They loved her to death, and that is the true statement of the Fletchers. They loved their daughter to death.
Yes, the legal representative
Literally
insisted that Fletcher's flaw was that they loved their child too much, just like other parents of handicapped children.
They loved their daughter to a fault. And sometimes that happens. Anyone with handicapped children can tell you those things can happen. These things, this is an extreme example of how that happens.
In other examples, according to American Bar, children on the autism spectrum are often abused physically and sexually. Some are physically abused by a parent or caregiver, usually because the adult cannot control the disabled child's behavior and resorts to violence in frustration. However, there are still parents out there that truly care for their autistic children and couldn't fathom with how the Fletchers treated Lacey. As a mom of a son with severe autism, no speaking, non-toileting, non-eating young adult, I can attest if he does not want to eat, he won't. However, I kept going through the hell of getting him to see many medical people, and after about a year and a half, we finally got him on a feeding tube. Some days he will eat a bit, but never enough to maintain life. It is an exhausting job. I don't quit because I love him. This broke me. My 2.5-year-old just got diagnosed, and as a mom, I fear for when it's my time to leave Earth. how he will be as an adult. Parents who hurt and neglect their kids are scum. And people diagnosed with autism were also hesitant to accept that this was just a case of simple neglect. As one Redditor wrote, "I keep rereading and studying the case. I'm autistic, high functioning, with SPTSD and crap. I work in the neurology field myself, in particular, caregiving, and am well versed in what could have happened at start, maybe, and I just keep coming back to abuse. No matter what, I mean. Factually, it was abuse and neglect, specifically abusive neglect. But I truly suspect something much more insidious to begin with. Mental illness definitely somewhere, but I think there was more aggressive, deeper abuse than passive neglect in the beginning, when she was still functional, until she was weakened enough. That poor girl never had a chance, and they had every resource possible. Soulless parents. I'm in the end of life part of neurology field, and a parent myself. I can't come to any other conclusion. Just can't accept that there's a way darker history to begin with. But while there was no undoing what had been done to Lacey, perhaps there was still a chance for justice to be served. After all, according to Tequila, this was an open and shut case.
It's very evident that Lacey Fletcher had some mental deficiencies. She was neglected by her parents. They didn't really show any direct intent to kill her, but their actions actually killed her.
With that very admission, what would be the court's decision? District Judge Jones said that Clay and Sheila Fletcher continually chose the path of least resistance when it came to the care of their daughter. This was a tragedy. The truth is that Lacey laid on a couch and slowly died because she got no medical or mental health care. District Judge Jones reached her verdict. Clay and Sheila Fletcher, without contest, were guilty of manslaughter. The couple was sentenced to 40 years in jail. However, they don't have to stay in jail for the whole 40 years. It turns out 20 of those years were suspended, with 5 years probation upon release, meaning they must follow strict rules during those 5 years. If they break any rules, they might have to go back to jail to serve the suspended part of their sentence. But given that the couple were already in their mid-60s, there's no certainty that they'll still be alive by the time they get out of jail.
Good.
But what was the public reaction to the verdict? Well, many remain unsatisfied, as comments from internet users included, 20 years is very little sentence for the monstrosity they did. They were torturing their own daughter for years. Some parents are from hell and deserve the chair for their cruel ways. They should suffer the exact same fate.
I like it.
Still, there
I
were
support
some,
that one.
particularly the friends and family of the Fletchers, who thought the sentence was too severe. An associate pastor of the Arkansas Baptist Church, an old friend of the Fletchers, said, "I know that Clay and Sheila are strong people of good faith and follow Christ. It is the only way they have been able to love and care for Lacey all her life, as well as find strength to take one day at a time through the trials of these charges." Many of the Fletchers' loved ones also gathered at the courthouse that day and negatively responded to the judge's decision.
And once things wrapped up and we were heading outside, you could see many of the friends and family walk into their cars with tears pouring out of their eyes. A lot of the folks that were here today have known both of the Fletchers since they were in high school, so you can only imagine how that was for them.
Yet, whatever side you land on, there's a clear lesson to be learned from this case.
But the parish coroner said that today should serve as a wake-up call for anybody that has a family member with special needs.
After the hearing, Tequila implored the community, watch out for your friends, talk to your neighbors, and make sure this does not happen to anybody else. It's something that could have been prevented, if only it had been. While you're here, check out our videos.
I guess it doesn't matter how old your fucking parents are. If they're, you'd think your parents would still, at least care about their children, no matter what their age is, even if they are 65 and the child was 36 years old. Or the son is 42 and the mom is 70. That's, what? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the world is a bad, bad, bad place. But the thing is, you would never know. Because they hide things. Important things. And they don't want you to know it's really happening. Until it gets exposed and then they have to backtrack. They have to try to make it look like, it's the victim's fault. It's mental illness that caused them to attack kids. No, motherfucker. A lot of the same shit you claim to have, I actually have. I don't go after kids. Or typically, I don't go after anybody. I'm married. But like I said, when I know those things are coming, I know when they're coming. I disassociate with the world. I do. Sometimes it takes a couple hours, sometimes it takes a week. But I would never attack children. Period. Or a woman. Chivalry's not dead, ladies. Chivalry's not dead. As long as you remain in the kitchen without shoes on and are pregnant. Right? Anyway, I'm not telling y'all how to think. Oh, God, I gotta try to leave it on a good, bad joke. If you didn't like it, then it's because you're a woman. Anyway, I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just telling you to think. Just take a look back and realize our parents, I'm sorry, not our parents. We're the parents that can change the future generation. We just have to maintain engaged with our children. Not in a bad way, but as a fucking parent. That's the reason my kids respect me and we're so close, even though really they used to be extremely afraid of me. But anyway.